Modern mothers take thousands of photos documenting every moment, but Amish women will never see a photograph of their children, grandchildren, or themselves. These 10 profound methods reveal how they preserve memories, honor loved ones, and maintain family history when images are forbidden by faith. Storytelling traditions. Around Amish family tables, after meals are cleared, stories flow like inherited wealth passed from generation to generation. These aren't casual anecdotes, but deliberate acts of preservation, detailed narratives that replace visual records. A grandmother describes her own mother with precision. Your great-grandmother had blue eyes, the color of summer sky, hair that stayed dark until her 60s, and hands that were small but remarkably strong. These descriptions contain specifics that allow children who never met their ancestors to form clear mental images. Your grandfather stood 6 feet tall, unusual for our family. He had a scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood accident. His voice was deep, and when he laughed, his whole body shook. The stories capture personality and character. Your aunt had a way of tilting her head when she was thinking seriously. She never interrupted but would wait patiently until you'd finish speaking. These behavioral details create fuller pictures than photographs ever could. Children learn family history through repeated tellings, absorbing not just facts, but the emotional texture of relationships. They know their heritage intimately, despite never seeing a single family photograph. Memory quilts. Amish quilts function as visual family records, despite the prohibition against images. Each quilt tells a story through pattern, colors, and construction. A wedding quilt in the double wedding ring pattern marks the union of two families. A baby quilt in soft blues signals a boy's birth. Memorial quilts incorporate fabrics from the deceased person's clothing. The patterns themselves carry meaning passed down through generations. A woman might create a quilt in the same pattern her grandmother used, creating visual link across time without violating prohibition against graven images. Touch and texture replace what photographs provide visually. A child wrapping themselves in a quilt made by their deceased grandmother experiences physical connection through the fabric she touched, the stitches she created. Quilts become family heirlooms passed through generations with stories intact. This is the quilt your great-great-grandmother made when she was 16. See these tiny stitches? That's how you can identify her work. Handwritten letters. Letter writing serves as primary communication when Amish family members live in different settlements. These letters, saved carefully in boxes, create written family history spanning decades. A mother saves every letter her daughter sends after marriage. Years later, those letters document the daughter's life in her own voice. The handwriting itself becomes recognizable and precious. This is how your grandmother wrote, with those distinctive loops on her capital letters. The physical act of writing creates unique marks that represent the writer's presence. Letters reveal personality and voice in ways photographs never capture. The writer's choice of words, their humor or seriousness, their concerns and celebrations all come through. Your grandfather always ended his letters with "your loving father," never just "Dad." Teaching daughters to write meaningful letters ensures the tradition continues. Young girls practice letter writing from childhood, learning to describe events thoroughly and maintain family connections across distance. Baby books without photos. Amish mothers maintain baby books that record births, first words, and milestones through detailed written descriptions rather than photographs. The entries require careful observation that modern parents often skip because cameras do the work. Sarah was born at 3:45 a.m. on January 12th, weighing 7 pounds, 2 ounces. She had surprising amount of dark hair that curled at the temples. These books track height and weight measurements, record dates of first tooth, first steps, first words. They include locks of baby hair preserved in folded paper. They document illnesses and recoveries, visits from relatives, significant events, but they contain no photographs. The discipline of written documentation trains mothers to observe carefully and remember precisely. They must notice details cameras would capture automatically: the exact shade of hair, the specific way the child laughs, the progression of development. When children marry, mothers often give them their baby books. Reading their own history in their mother's handwriting creates powerful emotional connection. Keepsake collections. Physical objects carry memory in ways photographs cannot replicate. Amish women preserve meaningful items: a baby's first shoes, children's handmade school projects, a wedding dress for daughters to wear, a husband's work gloves still bearing the shape of his hands. These objects provide tactile connection to the people who use them. Touching the shoes the baby wore, holding the gloves the husband's hands filled, creates physical link across time and death. The smell and texture trigger memories in ways visual images cannot. Teaching children the significance of keepsakes requires showing them which items carry meaning and why. A grandmother's thimble passes to a granddaughter learning to sew. A grandfather's tools go to a grandson learning carpentry. Looking at the handmade wooden toy a father carved for his son, now played with by his grandson, creates visual and tactile connection to the man who made it decades earlier. These physical objects replace what photographs would provide, creating memory through touch rather than images. Verbal descriptions. Amish children develop exceptional memory skills because their culture requires it. Without photographs to reference, they must remember faces and physical characteristics through observation and verbal description. This trains memory as active skill rather than passive storage. The verbal descriptions become remarkably precise. Your uncle had a scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood accident. His hands were large, with long fingers always in motion when he talked. He stood slightly stooped from years of carpentry work. Teaching children to observe carefully begins early. Notice how your sister holds her head when she's concentrating. See how your brother's eyes crinkle when he smiles genuinely. The practice of describing events immediately after they happen reinforces memory. Family gatherings get reviewed verbally. Remember when Sarah said that funny thing, and then Uncle David told his story? This immediate rehearsal cements memories that might otherwise blur. Community verification strengthens accuracy. When multiple people remember the same event, they correct and confirm details together, creating collective memory more reliable than individual recollection. Name-giving traditions. Names function as living memorials in Amish families, preserving connection to deceased relatives through the practice of naming children after them. A boy receives his grandfather's name, creating an immediate link between the living child and the departed ancestor. You're named for your grandfather. Let me tell you about him. This opens the door for stories that keep the deceased's memory active and present in family life. The practice means certain names appear repeatedly across generations, creating continuity that photographs would document, but naming actually embodies. A woman might share a name with her grandmother and great-great-grandmother, creating a chain of connection across a century or more. Each time the name is spoken, it evokes not just the current bearer, but all who carried it before. Children learn about their namesakes through stories that accompany their names. Your grandfather, whose name you carry, was known for his patience. He could spend hours fixing a broken tool, never frustrated, always careful. These character descriptions become models the child is encouraged to emulate, the name carrying not just identity, but expectation and legacy. Family trees extending 7 or 8 generations get memorized rather than documented in photo albums. Children can recite their ancestors' names from memory, connecting themselves to people they never met through this verbal genealogy. The practice creates sense of belonging to something larger than individual life, connecting each person to the long chain of family members who came before and will come after. Recipe books as memory. Handwritten recipe books become treasured heirlooms that preserve deceased family members' presence in uniquely tangible ways. A daughter inherits her mother's recipe book after her death, and the handwriting itself becomes precious. This is how Mama wrote, with those distinctive capital letters. The physical marks on paper, created by the mother's hand, provide connection that printed recipes cannot match. The recipes themselves trigger sensory memories that photographs cannot evoke. Baking grandmother's sugar cookies, following her exact proportions and techniques, creates smell and taste that transport the cook directly into memories of the grandmother's kitchen. The sensory experience connects past and present in an immediate, visceral way that viewing photographs of grandmother baking would never achieve. The personal notes in recipe margins add layers of memory and instruction. Add extra sugar, the children prefer it sweeter. This makes enough for a large gathering. These brief comments, written years earlier, continue speaking to future cooks, preserving not just the recipe, but the grandmother's voice, her concerns, her knowledge gained through decades of feeding her family. Cooking the same dishes across generations maintains family culture through taste and tradition. The Christmas cookies, the wedding foods, the birthday treats all connect current family members to those who came before through shared sensory experience. A woman making her grandmother's special chicken dish for her own family creates living connection between three generations, the recipe functioning as bridge across time that requires no images to maintain its power. Memorial traditions, honoring deceased family members without photographs, requires intentional practices that keep memories active rather than allowing them to fade into passive past. Amish families visit graves regularly, not as occasional duty, but as consistent practice woven into family life. Children learn about buried relatives through these visits, reading gravestone inscriptions that provide minimal information that must be supplemented through stories told at graveside. Annual memorial observances keep specific individuals present in family consciousness. On the anniversary of a grandmother's death, the family might gather to share memories, pray together, and cook her favorite foods. These rituals prevent the deceased from slipping into forgotten past, instead maintaining their presence as continuing influence on family life and values. Using deceased relatives' possessions with reverence transforms everyday objects into memorial items. A daughter wears her mother's shawl not just for warmth, but as way of feeling her mother's presence. A son reads his father's Bible, seeing the verses marked or underlined, glimpsing his father's spiritual life through these traces. These objects carry memory in ways that photographs would document but not embody. The absence of photographs arguably intensifies the need to actively remember. Without images to reference, family members must hold memories through intentional effort. They cannot passively scroll through albums, but must actively recall faces, voices, characteristics, stories. This active remembering keeps the deceased more present, more real than occasional viewing of static images might achieve. Living legacy. Memory in Amish families extends beyond preserving how someone looked or what they did, focusing instead on character and values that shaped their lives. Your grandmother would have done it this way becomes guidance that keeps the grandmother's influence active in present decisions. The deceased become moral examples whose remembered character shapes current behavior. Teaching values through memory transforms deceased relatives into ongoing teachers. Your grandfather never complained, no matter how difficult the work. This remembered characteristic becomes the model the child is encouraged to emulate. The grandfather's character living on through the grandson who never met him but knows his reputation. Character remembered becomes character transmitted across generations. Physical and personality resemblances between living descendants and deceased ancestors get noted and celebrated. You have your aunt's patience, or that smile is exactly like your grandfather's, creates a connection between present and past, between the living and the dead. These observations suggest that something of the deceased persists in the living, that family characteristics transcend individual mortality. Memory functions as a moral compass in daily decisions. What would grandmother do? It becomes a real question with practical implications, because grandmother's character and values are known clearly through years of stories and descriptions. The deceased influence the living not through photographs that document, but through remembered character that instructs and inspires. The ultimate legacy, from the Amish perspective, isn't how someone looked, but how they lived. character remembered matters infinitely more than appearance documented. Children learn that they'll be remembered not for their faces, which no photographs will preserve, but for their actions, their kindness, their faith, their contribution to family and